What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of The Press. I am your host, the evocative, talkative, provocative EJ. I am the big kahuna, and today we are in for another car rant. So, this is actually going to be something from The Press, something that I've seen in the news for the past couple days here that just came up. I think yesterday was when I first took note of them. I don't know if it happened yesterday or the day before. But they both come together to focus on something that I think has been missing from our culture for a little while. And that is balls. Now, you might be saying, well, EJ, the NFL is struggling right now, but they still exist. And the NBA is full of a bunch of crybabies, but they still exist. And EJ, you know, you've got football, you got soccer as well. You know, if you're using the original name, you call it soccer. If you use the hoity-toity rich people name, you call it football. We've got plenty of balls. I say that's not the kind of balls we're talking about here. We are talking about gumption, grit, the fire in your belly that makes you stand up and do something instead of sitting back and crying about it. And the two events that wonderfully coincided, it was really a serendipitous thing, because on the one hand, Andrew Yang cried in a speech. I don't recall exactly what he was crying about. I read a CNN article about how great it was that we have politicians that cry now, and let's just say it rubbed me the wrong way. And on the other hand, Chris Cuomo yelled at a troll. A troll walked up to him and had his phone running, was recording, and called him fake news Fredo. Now, apparently Fredo is I didn't know this, is a mildly racist slur for an Italian. You know, that's fine. I mean, get upset at that, absolutely. But Chris Cuomo responds by rising to him and yelling, "I will throw you down these effing stairs." I might be paraphrasing there, but I believe that was what he said, was, "I will throw you down these effing stairs." That's awesome. That's hilarious. It's great for a number of reasons. For one thing, and we'll come back to the Andrew Yang thing in a minute, but for one thing, it's awesome because it's just fun to watch. It's genuinely entertaining to watch. To watch this guy come up and think he's got an easy target. Oh, here's you know, the Democratic Party's pool boy. Let's make fun of him. Let's try to trigger him. And then he actually gets yelled at, which, he's from New York. What do you expect? You're going to get yelled at if you try to make him angry. But it happened. It was hilarious. I like it. But it also it established a few things. For one thing, it established that, yes, you can still have balls and still yell at people, and you don't have to just fall for the trolls. You can rise to them in such a way that you discourage them rather than, you know, rather than give them what they want. And there is a place for righteous anger. I think that's something that most of the people I've seen analyzing the situation have rightly said, you know what, whether I agree with them or not, props to Cuomo for getting mad, because, you know what, regardless of how severe the racial slur is, I've heard it compared to the N-word. I've heard people say it's nothing like the N-word. Regardless of that, the guy came up with the intent to piss him off, said something insulting to him, said a slur, and he responded not by freaking out and shrieking, but by yelling at him and saying, "Get out of my face," which is the appropriate response. I would support him actually throwing him down the stairs. I think there is a level to which, if you're going to try and provoke a reaction, and the fact that the guy had his camera out when he did this and went up and called him fake news Fredo, that tells me that he wanted a reaction. So if you're going out to provoke a reaction, I think you accept that you might get one. So I can get behind it. Secondly, it gives conservatives now someone to point to. when it comes to, reacting angrily to being called a racist, rapist, traitor, etc. People point at, you remember Brett Kavanaugh, when he got mad during his hearing, and people were like, oh, he's look at him, he's being emotional. Don't we want him to respond logically as a judge? Well, yeah, as a judge. Right now you're accusing a man of running a rape gang. A father of 2 daughters, by the way. This is not just any old man. This is a guy who has daughters, who has a loving wife, who had proof that he didn't do it, whose accusers provided easily contradicted proof, who was innocent and has been proven such, and yet they were still accusing him of wrongdoing. And you know what? Yeah, get mad at that. Get pissed about being accused in that way, because you're right to. Where people say, oh, Trump is being a big baby about this Russia investigation. Well, it turns out he didn't do it, and you ran a witch hunt impeding his presidency for 2 years. I think he's allowed to get mad about that. I think if, it's just, remember the birthers, where people were saying, oh, President Obama is not really American. If we had made a big deal out of that, if we had impeded his presidency and used that as an excuse to try and fight every policy decision he made, he would be 100% within his rights to flip out at us. He would be 100% within his rights to say, look, you idiots, I'm not Kenyan, I'm an American. I don't think it's wrong to say he has the right to feel that way and the right to say that. So it gives us now someone to point to on the other side to say, hey, look, you guys do it too. You guys get upset when you get accosted and accused of things that are not your fault, or accused of things you don't like being. So, you know what? Yeah, it's a good thing, because it gives us some ammunition as conservatives to defend ourselves. It gives us an example on the other side of, hey, it doesn't feel good, does it? But I think the last, and this is probably the main thing to take from this whole situation, is that it gives us the opportunity to all come together, regardless of party lines, and laugh at a failed troll. Laugh at a troll who got a little more reaction than he expected, who is now, people on both sides of the line are saying, hey, look at that idiot. What do you expect is going to happen? Wouldn't it have been funny if he actually did throw him down the stairs? I think that's a great thing. We can all come together over the stupid troll, and we can all say, this guy's an idiot. Props to Cuomo for standing up to him. Good job for actual righteous anger, defensible, justifiable, properly applied righteous anger there. Now, on the flip side, we have Andrew Yang, who is crying in a speech to his constituents. Now, some people are probably going to watch this and say, oh, well, he's a Democrat, they want more emotion. Yeah, absolutely. They definitely want emotion. You look at the Biden quote, we want truth over facts, in which, people think is a gaffe, but it's because postmodernism believes that truth is subjective. So they're saying whatever you feel over facts. So yes, for the Democrats, it's going to win over the people who are already voting for him. But it's going to drive away people who aren't. Because, for one thing, this belief that real men cry. Real men cry, yes, when no one else is depending on them. As a man, it is your job to be dependable. It is your job to be stable, especially in a position of authority. If you are the president of the United States, you are in the highest position of authority in the country. It is your job to remain emotionally stable and proactive in the face of crisis. It is not, I repeat, it is not your job to cry if you are presented with any situation that you feel is unjust. Injustice should make you proactive, should give you righteous anger. It should not make you cry. If you're crying, you are suggesting to, 1, your constituents, 2, the people you want to become your constituents, and 3, the rest of the world, that you are a weak person who is easily emotionally manipulated. We do not want leadership that is easily emotionally manipulated, because emotional manipulation is the number one way to make someone make a mistake. Whether you are Russia trying to topple the US, because I think Putin is, he was the leader of the KGB. I think if he could, he would be very happy to get one of his people in the White House. He didn't. We've proven he didn't. In fact, we've also proven that Trump beat the people he gave money to, but that's beside the point. We've proven that. I think it's safe to say we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that Putin wants to control the White House, that wants to take down America. He would be very happy if he could replace us as the number one superpower. So do we want him to be up against someone who is emotionally manipulated, someone who can be made to cry, or someone who's going to stand up with righteous anger and say, no, you need to get out? When Russia was sending aid to the Venezuelan government, the illegitimate Venezuelan government that the United States does not recognize, and Trump's response was, Russia needs to get out. That's the response we want from a president, not, isn't it horrible what's happening in Venezuela? No, you sack up and you stand up. That's what we want. So, to wrap this all up, yesterday, but today is when I'm kind of compiling all of this and processing it. But yesterday we saw two examples of balls and no balls. We commend the balls. We totally condemn a lack of balls in politics. This is not to say women are out of politics, by the way. You can have balls and be a woman. Sort of. You can have metaphorical balls. It's like Thor's hammer. It requires humility, leadership, balls and balls. Because you have to be humble. You have to be, someone that people are willing to follow. You have to be courageous. And whosoever wields this hammer, if he be worthy. So balls. So there's two kinds of balls you have to wield Thor's hammer. You have to be a man, because Odin said, if he be worthy. And you have to be courageous, because Thor was willing to put his life on the line. So, with all that said, you like that little tie-in, so now it's still writing related. With all that said, that's about all I had for it. I'm happy to see that, we've got examples on both the left and the right of gumption, of balls, of grit. It's baffling to me that the left is attempting to use a lack of gumption, a lack of balls, a lack of grit as a selling point. CNN was promoting Yang for his ability to cry. They also mentioned Obama's crocodile tears that he cried. They also mentioned Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib. And by the way, women crying evokes a different response than men crying. Women crying is sympathetic. Men crying is pathetic. So it's a little different on their account. I still think it's stupid because they're crying about factual falsehoods. They're crying about things that are not true. But it evokes a different emotional response from both men and women to see a woman cry than it does to see a man cry. So, with all that said, politicians need to sack up. Americans need to sack up. We need to get back on our feet. We need to sack up and stand up. That's all I had today. This is EJ.